Welcome to the Talent to Learning Show podcast series, episode 74, with independent learning tech analyst John Lay. Today, I interviewed Jeff Campbell, founder of MoTrain, about innovations in customer education engagement programs. You can find more of our fiercely independent content at talenttolearning.com. Well, welcome back, listeners, and thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of the Talented Learning Show. On this show, I am fortunate to interview experts in customer education and extended enterprise learning technology from both the vendor and the practitioner points of view. And today is no different. From the vendor point of view, we are fortunate to have Jeff Campbell, the founder of MoTrain, with us here today. Like all successful entrepreneurs, Jeff identified a need and gap in the marketplace and created a solution to solve it. In this case, the marketing need to engage customers and prospective customers to do, well, anything that aids the business. As it turns out, there are 1,000 LMSs in the global market. Although many can be used for some customer education use cases, many of the LMSs in the market were first designed to serve employee training, HR compliance markets. These systems often lack the marketing feel, the know-how, the features to drive learner engagement, essentially making the entire customer ed organization less effective than they could be, really due to technology and a incorrect focus of the technology to voluntary and extended learners. That's a problem in continuing education, where results and competitive differentiation are proven by measurable business indicators. And that's where MoTrain steps in, and that's what we're going to learn all about today. Jeff, welcome to the Talent to Learning Show podcast. It's great to have you here.
Thanks, John. I am super excited to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. We've known each other for years, but what you've been doing in the marketplace is so unique, and I couldn't wait to finally get you away from your busy schedule on this show here so that we could share it out, because there's things for everybody in customer education and really anybody that cares about engagement to learn today, and that's the spirit of it. But let's start at the beginning. You work and founded a company that many people probably haven't heard of yet. So why don't you tell us about MoTrain and why you founded the organization?
Awesome. Yeah, MoTrain is a gamification and incentive solution that embeds inside an LMS, and essentially learners earn coins for taking desired actions, for example, like course completions. And those coins power gamification features like levels and leaderboards, but they can also be used to redeem for any kind of incentive offered by the organization. So originally, we kind of came at the solution with an engagement mindset, but we're finding out that it plays a much larger role in terms of a marketing tool as well as a customer experience strategy.
Interesting. And as all listeners probably know, if you're playing at all inside the customer education field, it's really a combination of disciplines of an L&D discipline, a marketing discipline, and a customer service support discipline. And as it turns out, a lot of the LMSs out there are coming at it from that learning and development perspective, and so they're kind of missing and blind of some of those other areas, and that's kind of where this engagement and gamification gets to fit in, really in the blind spot of employee LMSs, so to say. But what do you see? We both march in the same circles here in the global customer education community. In your travels, so what do you see as really the core challenges and opportunities for these programs? Where are LMSs falling short? What are the where's this going? What's the state?
Yeah, I think in the customer education space, which is where we're spending most of our time, is I think the challenge is separate from the employee internal training, is really the fact that kind of stems from the fact that none of this training is mandatory. You can't require people to do it. So that's a big mindset difference in terms of the learners coming into that environment. I think it's also hard for companies to attract and even get the awareness about the learning portal or the learning opportunities that the company's offering about the products and services. Ultimately, you're competing for the customer's time. So they might have their own mandatory training that they have to do with their own company. So you're competing for the time to come and learn about your products and services. And I think a lot of the companies or people in the customer education market are speaking about trying to justify the ROI of investing in it. And what we're seeing is the kind of the flip of that. If you put the engagement piece into the learning and you acquire more customers and you educate them, then it's actually not, you're not trying to prove the ROI. You're actually, the mindset changes towards looking at it as a revenue generator. And so that's what I'm getting very passionate about lately, is trying to switch the narrative from justifying investing in customer education to making it like a no-brainer. This is something that drives revenue for the company. So I think the challenge is around, getting customers to come in and engage and even know about your learning opportunities. And that's what I get excited about, because we know that educated customers buy more, they buy more often, they stay longer as customers. You can roll out new products and new geographies. And the upside is that typically the customer audience size is just massive, like many magnitudes larger than internal training. So from an LMS perspective, I'm always wondering why more LMS companies aren't looking at, we should really look at this niche of learning, because the audience size, like the account size, can be just massive compared to the employee size. So I think the revenue generating opportunities for the companies themselves is great. I think the revenue generating opportunities for the LMS providers based on the account size is very, very are a lot larger than what they're typically seeing in the employee side. And then I think the ROI conversation is just so much easier to have when you look at, if we acquire customers and we educate them, that ultimately puts revenue into our bottom line. So I think there's certainly challenges around it, but I just see the upside on a daily basis, and the work that we're doing with customers that are embracing this, not just from a learning strategy, but from an entire organization standpoint, all the way from the top down to the bottom.
There's a lot to unpack there. Let me dig into
Yeah.
one part of it. So I think a theory, if I'm understanding it right, you have is that organizations grow, they have customers, and then customer education programs come later, and then they roll them out, and they have a hard time getting people to engage, getting their existing customers even to engage. So it's about attracting new customers, sure, but it's just getting your regular customers to carve out that piece of time and see why they should take the time to actually do this. So that's the problem right there, is getting that group engaged.
100%. And if
Yeah.
you look at some of the data that some of the LMS providers are putting out in the market, they're showing, like, even if you put a certification on their customer training, you're still getting completion rates of less than 50%. And I thought about just the other day in terms of, well, that's 50% is the complete, let's call it 50%, is the completion of the known customers who are registered in the portal. But what I'm finding is that there is an enormous audience of customers that are not on the learning management system. We don't even know that they exist. So they're not even looking at the content. So in terms of what's the untapped potential in the market for some of these companies, just getting awareness of the customers that there is an opportunity to learn about products that they sell or recommend. I think that's the number that nobody knows.
Yeah.
What's the possible market size that just is unaware of the company's offering?
Wow. And then you start tying that to ROI. Even though you want to get away from that, I can't help but going back to that, thinking,
Yeah.
if it's so obvious, and it is, that you can move the business needle on all these different metrics, but you're only touching a teeny portion, then the potential is just awesome.
Yeah,
And that's
it
why it's
really
fun.
is. Yeah.
That's why it's
Yeah,
fun being in
exactly.
this sector.
Yeah, way more fun than L&D. I'll just go throw that one out there.
Yeah. How about it? How about it? And to jump on your point before, is one I like to make all the time also, is that, how many, for these LMS providers, get with it, that you're not fully embracing this market, because how many 100,000 employee companies are out there in the world, some,
Yeah.
but how many companies that have 1,000 employees have 100,000 customers, like a cajillion? I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
the scale is just not even comparable. But hey, we digress. Tell me about
Yeah.
this virtual currency. So this is something I don't think I've seen before. So why don't you explain what that is and how that works?
Right. So I wanted to come at gamification. I was using it in some other platforms, and they typically, traditionally come at an engagement perspective from what's called a PBL, so points, badges, and leaderboards. And when I looked at that, I didn't really like the idea of never ending accumulating points because at some point that gets stale. Badges, I'm anti-badge, just to clarify. I don't see a whole lot of value in them in terms of a motivational factor. Like maybe they add something in terms of like showing learner progress, but I was never sold on badges. And leaderboards, I mean, they're only interesting to a small number of users. They're actually like kind of 5 to 10% of users are intrigued by leaderboards. If you're not on it, you probably don't care. And if you don't know the people personally, you also don't really care. So
Sure.
I could see the intent behind it, but I wasn't really happy with what it was achieving. And so introducing a virtual currency has a number of benefits. One being we typically will brand it. So the companies will have their own currency that they make. So uh, the visual asset of it, but also what they call it. And the difference of being a currency is that there's a known understanding of the end user being able to exchange it. It has a value, can exchange it for something else. And that gives the learner autonomy. Instead of most gamification systems, which are passive in nature, like I just earned a badge and I didn't necessarily want that badge. I don't even know why I got it.
Let me race to
And
LinkedIn.
yeah, we get race to LinkedIn and post it, which you never see. And so I think that was kind of the marketing aspect of badge companies is that they would say, oh, you can post it on social media. Like, well, how often do you see people doing that? Like, maybe I have the wrong friend group. I don't know, but I just don't see a lot of people doing that. And so the idea with this exchangeable currency is it gives choice to the learner on what they want to spend it on or give it away or whatever the offering is. It allows some flexibility in terms of spending it. But then it also drives the economy in terms of what is it that can earn the coins. So you can earn coins from learning, but then you can also, so we started to look at what other actions can customers take that will drive revenue for companies. And so I mentioned about acquiring more customers. So we've built systems like Refer a Friend and Welcome Coins, which are systems designed to attract customers into the learning portal. So Welcome Coins, you get a pop-up saying, hey, thanks for coming here. Here's 100 coins. But it's the marketing teams that run with this and say, hey, sign up for our training program and we'll give you 100 coins towards some swag, for example. The Refer a Friend one is a really powerful tool where you have existing customers that are registered in the LMS who can then earn coins for successfully referring their friends to enroll in the same programs. So now you have like an affiliate program built into your LMS, but you're not paying real dollars for it. You're paying in virtual currency. And that we're finding is opening up huge business opportunities for our customers because their customers are not typically following traditional marketing channels that you would try and land them. So it's lookalike audience members that are finding their colleagues to come in and take their training. So the feedback we're getting on that tool alone in terms of just acquisition, it happens because it is amazing, by the way, but it's happening because of the virtual currency that we've introduced. And the other part is then you can get creative on how you let people spend that currency. So we have raffle draws and sweepstakes and auctions and fundraisers, all different ways that people can interact with the incentives that they put up, that the company puts up. So the analogy I give is taps and drains. We work with a few plumbing companies, so it really resonates with them. So we build an economy around user actions and think of that as like the tap putting coins into the system. And then we have all these ways to spend those coins. So that's the drain. We take the coins out of the system and that drives the engagement loop. So you have a constant flow in and a constant flow out. Taps and drains.
Taps and drains. Who would have thought we'd learn some
Yeah,
plumbing and the non benefits of PBL.
exactly.
That is that is really cool. One of the things I talk about all the time is just the customer life cycle. I like to think about that life cycle as the different areas of application. And one of the, it's like attract customers, onboard them, support them
Yeah.
over time. But the fourth part is really the tough part, and that's turn them into advocates. And everybody in the industry has really struggled with phase four of how do you get them talking and bringing in? And this is practical. This is like a way that, with these points to refer a friend and bring people in. It's like a phenomenal way to do it.
Well, and to your point, the life cycle, we have three pillars that we really look at. So the acquisition stage, which I've just talked about with that refer a friend and welcome coins, but then we have an engagement phase, and those coins are earned based on lesson completion, course completion, program completion, all of the actions in the LMS that we want to see happening. And what that does is it also opens up the opportunity for companies to then continually create content for their customers to serve. So as you roll out, say, new products and services, it gives a reason for these customers to come back. And some of our clients have customers that are angry. They're like, where are more courses here? Like, I've finished everything here. Like, give me more to come in and learn about. And that's part of the engagement piece that we kind of look at into the long-term value that we're getting, giving to the customer, but then also getting back from them. But the advocacy one is a really interesting one because we've actually got into incentivizing advocacy. So the companies that we work with that say send incentives out to the customers, they also put a little note in that parcel saying, hey, thanks for taking the training. If you send us a picture and a testimonial, we'll add 300 more coins to your account. And so what you're getting, these companies are getting this onslaught of all of these images, video testimonials, people speaking about the training and gushing about it in a digital medium. And they're taking these assets, the marketing teams are taking these assets and then repurposing them in their marketing campaigns to feed the acquisition side. So this whole advocacy piece, we've incentivized advocacy. I don't know about you, John, but I find it's easy to get negative feedback, but it's hard to get positive feedback and
Sure.
testimonials from happy customers. So we've just added the incentive piece onto that, and then you get a whole lot more. And then you can reuse that in your acquisition strategies.
Yeah. How about it? How about it? That's great. That's great. And so these organizations and what they're thinking is they're spending the money anyway at marketing. They're just now taking a slice of that marketing budget
Yeah.
and say, we're going to spend it on this instead, something that's measurable or more measurable.
And and to your point, like if you think about marketing budgets are way larger than most, if you're going to look at L&D as a comparison, because L&D
Mhm.
is typically looked at as a cost center, where marketing is often looked at as a revenue generator. So if you
Yep.
take a look at the budget size is way bigger, and then you look at what is a marketing budget typically spent on, and then what are the metrics that you typically get from that spend. And that's a huge thing that we look at. So if you look at this acquisition of customers into the LMS, think about how different the metrics are there than just typical, say, cost per click. Like you're getting the user name, their email address. You are harvesting some information when they sign up in the LMS that you now, whether they take content with you or not, but even if we can just get them to sign up, we now know so much more about that person than we do from traditional marketing strategies and metrics. So if we can get them into the LMS, now we can not only market to them, but we can also measure how much are they learning and
Mhm.
what are they learning about, what are they showing interest in. And like to me, the LMS in customer education is like the holy grail of marketing. Like we
Yep.
we we know so much about this user, and then we can feed them the exact content that we want them to feed or help them in whatever that they want to learn about. Education-based marketing is kind of I don't know, it's been around for a while now, but that's what everybody's trying to
Mhm.
do. So what better way to do that than behind an LMS where you can measure things?
Yeah. Boy, I love it. I love it. This is great. Hey, real quick, we're running out of time already. The measurability of this, any results that you can share that you see in your client base? Anything like that
Yeah,
public
so to
knowledge?
give you like our flagship project is with a company called Watts Water, and they're a global plumbing technology company who trains plumbers, contractors, wholesalers, distributors, engineers, all non-employees about the Watts products. And those people can choose between competitor products when they're working on
Hmm.
jobs. So the Watts strategy is incentivize learning about their products, and they will more likely choose them when they're going to going to work. And they came to us in 2019 and had 375 customers in the United States who completed 2,000 courses in the year. And they said, we want to get more customers signed up and we want to get them to consume more content. Can you help? I said, yep. Today, we are looking at over 33,000 customers in over 20 countries using the strategies that I've
Outstanding.
mentioned. And it's growing like continuously. Like they keep adding more countries, more geographic expansion, and more courses, more content. And it's just an enormous success. And part of the success is really on, to their credit, it's been top down from their top C-suite executives all the way down to the company is they've prioritized customer education, and they just invest in it like crazy from all aspects of the business. And the coolest part is that learning department now is gets the red carpet wherever they go within the company. Like, which is they're not trying to justify their costs. They're
Yeah.
treated so well because of the value that they're giving to the customers and getting for the company. It's a huge win-win.
Wow, that story is cool on so many levels. But I'll just comment on one level of that is that when people think about customer education, they're always so wrapped up in the SaaS companies, which is certainly one of the big use cases. But who would guess that plumbers, are like a huge audience that needs education, all the time. And it should be eye-opening to not only vendors,
Yeah,
but to just really anybody listening that's not in a SaaS
100%.
environment, that customer education is business transformation stuff, for sure.
Yeah.
We're out of time. So we got one point I want to make and then an advice question. The point is your solution is not an LMS. It sits and augments LMSs. Is there any can any LMS use it? Is there some
Yeah.
restrictions at this point? How does this
Yeah,
work? I want to.
thanks, John. Yeah, it's platform agnostic, and it will sit as an embedded solution in an LMS. And we have currently a few integrations with a few LMSs, and we're obviously looking for more, especially ones that are specializing in the customer education area, because that's where we're seeing the most success. So yeah, we have an open API and an iframe, and from an end user experience, it's a seamless integration. They don't even really know that they're in two different platforms, and
Perfect.
that's built by intention.
All right, Jeff, what's your best advice to professionals who want to start an incentive gamified program? Where do you start? Something like this sounds like you get start in a lot of different places. Where do you recommend?
Yeah, first of all, getting buy-in from the upper management level is certainly a helpful starting point, so that you have some more alignment in terms of the multiple different parts of the company that should be involved. I think knocking on marketing's door is huge. If you get like we have some projects where they're not involved, and it's not nearly as a successful program. And so it's a huge marketing customer experience strategy. So getting people and budgets aligned on multiple different fronts is really, it's a team strategy. I mean, customer education has a team effect. It affects multiple areas of the business. And so it requires investment from both of those or multiple different departments. And then the last one, we typically hear about with new clients on new projects. They say, what kinds of incentives should we be looking at? And quite often people default into thinking about, oh, we can give gift cards. And I cringe. I think, well, you can, but there's way better things that you can give away. And I think the acronym that we typically follow is or recommend is from a gamification a leader named Gabe Zickerman, and he recommends the SAPS model. So it stands for status, access, power, and stuff. And if you think about kind of breaking down incentives into those areas, you can probably come up with some things that add value to your end customers that's not necessarily gift cards. So that's what I would recommend, is think about the marketing benefits and really then how you would roll out. And it's the crawl, walk, run strategy, like start small and then scale. Like that's what we've done with all of our projects.
Wow. Sage advice, Jeff. Thanks so much for coming here and joining me today. It's great to have you. All this stuff is so relevant to me, and personally, to a lot of listeners and all of us. So many of us struggle with this. So it's great to have you here. Thanks for
My
joining me.
pleasure, John. And yeah, thanks for being the voice of customer education that's not just looking at SaaS as well. I think there's so much opportunity in other areas. So I love your content. Yeah, keep it up.
All right. Thanks. And congratulations on that great
Awesome.
story. Listeners, if you want to see more of those type of stories, you just have to go to motrain.com or reach out to Jeff on LinkedIn. And I'm sure it'll help you see
Yeah.
that. Listeners, thanks so much for tuning into our 74th episode. Can you believe it? Time flies. If you've been following along, though, there is no doubt that you're a lot smarter about learning systems, the LMS market, customer and partner education, content, and the business use cases. I know I am. I love this podcast. You can find more of our independent analysis at talentedlearning.com. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.